The hidden side of Iran you've never seen. What comes to mind when you hear the name Iran? Nuclear headlines. International sanctions. Missiles. A country often portrayed as one of the world's greatest geopolitical rivals. For decades, these images have dominated the world's perception of Iran. But what if they reveal only a fraction of the truth? What if beneath the politics lies one of the oldest civilizations humanity has ever known? A civilization that built one of history's greatest empires. An empire that stretched across 3 continents. An empire where dozens of cultures, languages, and religions lived under a single rule. Long before Rome became powerful. Long before Europe emerged from the Dark Ages. Persia was shaping the ancient world. Its kings built roads that connected continents. Its engineers created cities that amazed foreign visitors. Its scholars preserved knowledge that would later influence science, medicine, and philosophy across the globe. Even after its empire fell, Persia never truly disappeared. Its language survived. Its culture endured. Its identity evolved. Today, millions know the country as Iran. But behind that modern name lies a story spanning more than 2,500 years, a story of conquest, resilience, innovation, revolution, and survival. A story far richer than the headlines suggest. This is the hidden side of Iran you've never seen. Part 1. For thousands of years, the Iranian plateau stood at the crossroads of civilizations. To the west lay Mesopotamia. To the east, the vast lands of Central Asia. To the south, the Persian Gulf connected distant cultures through trade. Whoever controlled this land controlled one of the most strategic regions on Earth. But around the 6th century BC, a small kingdom in southwestern Iran began to change history forever. Its leader was a man named Cyrus II. History would remember him as Cyrus the Great. Unlike many conquerors, Cyrus understood that lasting power could not be built through fear alone. Instead of destroying the cultures he conquered, he often respected their traditions, religions, and local governments. In 539 BC, Cyrus entered Babylon, then the greatest city in the world. Remarkably, the city surrendered with little resistance. Rather than enslaving its people, Cyrus allowed many captive nations, including the Jewish people, to return to their homelands and rebuild their temples. This policy earned him a reputation unlike almost any ruler of the ancient world. Some historians even describe him as one of history's first champions of religious tolerance. As Persia expanded, it became something the world had never seen before. An empire stretching from the Mediterranean Sea to the mountains of Central Asia. From the deserts of Egypt to the valleys of the Indus River. At its height, nearly half of the world's population lived under Persian rule. Governing such a vast empire required more than military strength. It demanded innovation. Under Cyrus and later Darius the Great, Persia developed one of history's most sophisticated systems of administration. The empire was divided into provinces called satrapies, each governed by trusted officials but closely monitored by royal inspectors known as the eyes and ears of the king. To connect this enormous realm, the Persians built the Royal Road, stretching more than 2,500 kilometers. Royal couriers could deliver messages across the empire with astonishing speed. Centuries later, this network would inspire future empires, including Rome. Meanwhile, Darius launched one of the ancient world's most ambitious construction projects. On a magnificent stone terrace beneath the Zagros Mountains rose a city unlike any other. Its name was Persepolis. Towering columns. Grand ceremonial halls. Intricate carvings. Delegations from across the empire arrived bearing gifts from every corner of the known world. Persepolis was more than a capital. It was a symbol of an empire at the height of its power. But every empire eventually meets its greatest challenge. And from a small kingdom far to the west, a young king was preparing to march toward Persia. His name was Alexander of Macedon. Part 2, From Persia to Iran. In 334 BC, a 22-year-old king crossed the Hellespont with an army of fewer than 50,000 men. His name was Alexander the Great. Standing before him was the largest empire the world had ever known. Few believed Persia could fall. But Alexander was unlike any commander Persia had faced before. Within just a few years, he defeated the Persian armies at the battles of Granicus, Issus, and finally Gaugamela, a decisive victory that shattered the power of King Darius III. For the first time in more than 2 centuries, the mighty Persian Empire was collapsing. As Alexander advanced deeper into Persia, he reached its ceremonial capital, Persepolis. The city was a masterpiece of the ancient world. Its palaces glittered with gold. Its walls displayed scenes of nations from across the empire bringing tribute to the Persian king. Yet in 330 BC, Persepolis was consumed by flames. Whether the fire was an act of revenge, a drunken mistake, or a deliberate political message remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Whatever the reason, one thing was certain. The heart of the Persian Empire had been destroyed. But Persia itself did not disappear. Alexander died unexpectedly just 8 years later, leaving behind an empire with no clear successor. His generals divided the conquered lands among themselves, and Persia became part of the Seleucid Empire. Greek culture spread across the region, blending with ancient Persian traditions. Rather than replacing Persian civilization, the two cultures slowly merged. Centuries later, a new Iranian dynasty emerged from the east. The Parthians reclaimed Persian independence and built an empire that stretched from Mesopotamia to Central Asia. They became Rome's greatest rival in the east. For generations, Roman legions and Parthian horse archers fought for control of the Middle East, with neither side able to achieve lasting victory. Trade flourished along the Silk Road, which passed directly through Persian lands. Silk from China. Spices from India. Glass from Rome. Ideas, religions, technologies, and cultures all met in Persia. In the 3rd century AD, another dynasty rose to power, the Sasanian Empire. Determined to restore the glory of ancient Persia, the Sasanian kings rebuilt magnificent cities, strengthened the state, and revived Zoroastrianism as the empire's official religion. Once again, Persia stood among the world's great powers. Its rivalry with the Roman, and later Byzantine, Empire would shape the history of the Middle East for centuries. But in the 7th century, a new force emerged from the Arabian Peninsula. United by a new faith called Islam, Arab armies swept across the region with astonishing speed. The Sasanian Empire collapsed. Persia was conquered. At first glance, it seemed like the end of an ancient civilization. But history had another surprise. Persia embraced Islam while preserving its own language, literature, identity, and traditions. Instead of disappearing, Persian civilization transformed, and, in many ways, became one of the driving forces behind the Islamic world. The empire had fallen. But the civilization had survived. Part 3, The Civilization That Shaped the Islamic World. The Arab conquest changed Persia forever. A new religion had arrived. A new political order had replaced the old empire. Many believed Persian civilization would slowly disappear into history. Instead, something extraordinary happened. Rather than losing its identity, Persia reshaped the civilization that had conquered it. Over the following centuries, Persian culture became one of the driving forces behind the Islamic Golden Age. The Persian language not only survived, it flourished. Poets, scholars, philosophers, engineers, and physicians transformed cities across the Middle East into centers of learning unlike anything Europe had seen at the time. Among the greatest of these figures was Ferdowsi. Around the year 1010, after more than 3 decades of work, he completed the Shahnameh, or the Book of Kings. Containing over 50,000 verses, it is one of the longest epic poems ever written. But it was far more than literature. It preserved the myths, legends, heroes, and history of ancient Persia, ensuring that the memory of the old empire would never be forgotten. Persia also became a center of scientific discovery. The physician Avicenna, known in Persian as Ibn Sina, wrote the Canon of Medicine, a work that remained one of Europe's most important medical textbooks for nearly 600 years. The mathematician Al-Khwarizmi, whose works were deeply influenced by the Persian scholarly tradition, helped develop algebra and mathematical methods that still shape modern science. Persian astronomers mapped the heavens. Engineers improved irrigation systems that turned deserts into fertile farmland. Architects designed magnificent mosques, gardens, and palaces whose beauty continues to inspire visitors today. Persian poetry reached extraordinary heights through writers such as Rumi, Sa'di, and Hafez. Their words explored love, faith, wisdom, and the human spirit, and are still read across the world centuries later. Then, in the early 16th century, another turning point arrived. The Safavid dynasty united much of the Iranian plateau under a single Persian state once again. Its founder, Shah Ismaili, declared Twelver Sharia Islam the official religion of the kingdom, a decision that permanently shaped Iran's national identity and continues to distinguish it from many of its neighbors today. Under the Safavids, Iran entered another golden age. The city of Isfahan became one of the most magnificent capitals on earth. Travelers described its grand squares, elegant bridges, bustling bazaars, turquoise-domed mosques, and carefully designed gardens as wonders of the world. Merchants arrived from Europe, India, China, and the Ottoman Empire, making the city a crossroads of global trade and culture. By the 17th century, Persia had once again become one of the Middle East's great powers. Its armies challenged the Ottomans. Its artists influenced entire civilizations. Its scholars continued to expand humanity's knowledge. Yet beyond the magnificent palaces and flourishing cities, a new era was approaching. One that would bring foreign empires, oil, revolution, and challenges unlike anything Persia had faced before. Part 4, Revolution, Oil and the Modern State. By the 18th century, the glory of the Safavid Empire had faded. Foreign invasions, internal struggles, and political instability weakened Persia once again. As Europe entered the Industrial Revolution, a new resource would transform the country's destiny forever. Oil. In 1908, vast oil reserves were discovered in southwestern Persia. Almost overnight, the country became one of the most strategically important places on earth. Britain quickly secured control over much of Iran's oil industry through the Anglo-Persian Oil Company, the predecessor of today's BP. For many Iranians, their nation's greatest natural wealth seemed to benefit foreign powers far more than their own people. The 20th century brought rapid change. In 1925, Reza Shah Pahlavi came to power with a bold vision of modernization. He expanded railways, built factories, established universities, strengthened the military, and introduced sweeping reforms designed to transform Iran into a modern nation-state. His son, Mohammad Reza Shah, continued that vision after World War II. Under his rule, Iran experienced rapid economic growth fueled by oil revenues. Modern highways connected cities. Skyscrapers rose over Tehran. Industries expanded. Education improved. But prosperity came at a cost. Political opposition was tightly controlled. Many Iranians believed the government had become increasingly authoritarian and too closely aligned with Western interests. By the late 1970s, dissatisfaction had spread across the country. In 1979, millions of people took to the streets. The monarchy collapsed. After more than 2,500 years of kings and shahs, Iran became an Islamic republic under Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. It was one of the most significant political transformations of the 20th century. Yet Iran's challenges were only beginning. Just 1 year later, neighboring Iraq invaded. The Iran-Iraq War lasted 8 brutal years. Entire cities were destroyed. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers and civilians lost their lives. The conflict left deep scars that still shape Iranian society today. In the decades that followed, Iran faced international sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and growing tensions over its nuclear program and regional influence. These events have dominated global headlines for years, often becoming the primary lens through which the outside world views the country. But politics tells only part of Iran's story. Beyond the headlines lives a nation of more than 90 million people. A country with ancient traditions, vibrant cities, world-class universities, remarkable landscapes, and a culture that has survived every empire, invasion, and revolution. To truly understand Iran, we must look beyond the news. Part 5, The Hidden Iran. For much of the world, Iran remains a mystery. Its image is often defined by politics, conflict, and headlines. But beyond the television cameras lies a country that few outsiders ever get to see. A land of extraordinary beauty. In the north, dense forests stretch along the shores of the Caspian Sea, where green mountains meet mist-covered valleys. To the west, the rugged Zagros Mountains have protected civilizations for thousands of years. Far to the southeast lies the Lut Desert, one of the hottest places ever recorded on Earth, a landscape so surreal that it often resembles another planet. And scattered across this vast country are cities that have stood for centuries. In Isfahan, elegant bridges cross the Zayanda River, while turquoise domes and intricate mosques reflect the brilliance of Persian architecture. In Shiraz, gardens bloom beside the tombs of legendary poets, reminding visitors that words have always held a special place in Persian culture. And just outside the modern city, the ruins of Persepolis still rise from the earth, silent witnesses to an empire that once ruled much of the known world. Iran is also home to 28 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, placing it among the world's richest countries in terms of cultural heritage. Yet Iran is not only a country of ancient history. It is also a nation of young people. Nearly half of its population is under the age of 40. Its universities produce thousands of engineers, scientists, doctors, and researchers every year. Despite decades of economic challenges and international sanctions, innovation continues in fields ranging from medicine and nanotechnology to aerospace and robotics. Everyday life is filled with traditions that have endured for centuries. Families gather around tables covered with fragrant saffron rice, slow-cooked stews, fresh herbs, pistachios, and sweet dates. In bustling bazaars, craftsmen still weave Persian carpets by hand, preserving techniques passed down through generations. And perhaps above all else, visitors often remember one thing: Persian hospitality. Across the country, welcoming a guest is considered not merely a custom, but a deeply rooted cultural value. It is a reminder that behind every political headline are millions of ordinary people living their daily lives. Iran is a country of contradictions. Ancient and modern. Traditional and innovative. Misunderstood, yet deeply influential. The world often sees only one chapter of its story. But Iran's story began long before modern politics. It began with Persia. A civilization that transformed how empires were governed, connected continents through trade, advanced science and medicine, inspired generations of poets and artists, and left a legacy that still shapes our world today. Because Iran is more than a place on the map. It is one of humanity's oldest living civilizations. And perhaps its greatest story is the one that still remains to be discovered. Thank you for watching.